What is going on? This is an incorrect error message. It is the code not handling. Wait. I'm literally shaking right now. This assertion is going off. So, I see. Yes. Okay, so if you give a name, we do all this stuff, right? So we want to give a very clear error message that says like, hey, you used a named argument and then went past the end. Okay. The problem is how to not make this accidentally break varargs. So to this procedures, that's grammatically incorrect. Okay, so we're going to change this a little bit. Okay, and then we say, I could just report the error here, but I could also do a little bit more to make sure that this is actually what's happening. And we could do like an internal compiler error otherwise. So we'll do like if something else internal compiler error we are trying to process too many arguments for this call, but are not sure why. Okay. However, here we're going to say this is an error. Too many arguments to this procedure. argument %d was named and was the last argument. So argument %d would be the past the end of the argument list. Okay. And then what are those %ds? They are like that. So what is the test here? Async and await are ways of doing threading when you don't actually understand or care about performance. You can't really do high performance threading with them. It's not possible. That said, there are times when you do want to do non-high performance threading because it's better than no threading, but like I think other constructs are better for that. So like parallel 4 is probably better for that. Is there a better model for doing I/O stuff like network? Just have a thread that does the I/O stuff. Like doing threading well is pretty hard. Okay. And very custom to your current situation. Okay. So what's the condition? We're going to say so this is going to be if last argument was named, and we're going to say if sorted index is equal to sorted dot count and sorted index is greater than 0 and there was a name in the previous slot. Oh shit. Oh, and I is greater than 0 actually. And names unsorted I minus 1, then this is true. Okay, so we're detecting this situation more specifically and giving a better error, and then otherwise, whoops, we're not running the compiler, we just compiled. Otherwise, whoops. Oh wait, varg's result is a different, yeah. Okay. I got confused about what that assertion meant. Oops. I don't think that's a correct assertion. forgot the return. So we did the error, we just didn't return from the function, so we kept going, which was bad because we knew we were out of range. All right, there we go. Argument 2 was named. Let's actually say what the name was. Okay. If last argument name, we're going to say argument percent argument. Like, this is confusing because you're talking about the caller's argument and the callee's argument. So we're going to say the previous argument uses the name whatever, which maps to the last parameter of the procedure. Would be past the end of the argument list. Let's try that. Use the name. I mean, that makes it confusing, but okay. Which maps to the last parameter of the procedure. So argument 3 would be past the end of the argument list. And we could put info here. Report info, last argument name. Here is the identifier that came before parameter, came before argument, whatever. Let's just do it all. Okay, so let's go report info. Unsorted sub I. Here is the argument. Here is argument whatever that is past the end of the argument list. That would be, right, so sorted index plus 1. Here's the identifier that came before this. And then I think declarations, yes. Here is the declaration that the name binds to, it is the last argument of the procedure being called. You know, we're just giving people all the information here. So much information in case somebody's confused. Previous argument username name, which maps the last parameter. So argument 3 would be passed Okay. It's not argument 3. These things have different indices in the callee, and the caller. And I'm using the callee index, but I'm displaying caller values. Here's the identifier that came before. Yeah. So this part is all good. It's just calling it argument 3 is going to be confusing. Here's the declaration that name binds to as the last argument of the procedure being called. Plenty of information. I just need to change this index. Why not just say positional argument after keyword argument? Because that's allowed. Fuck off. Read the messages. Jesus. I'm going to stop responding to individual people in Twitch chat. It's a bad habit. Like, you can have positional arguments after named arguments. That is not the problem. Okay. Sub only is the way. Okay, so like, this is going to be a problem with error messages generally if I get more verbose about them, because you have argument indices. Maybe we shouldn't use them, but it's like a compiler tradition to say what argument number it is. And I'm saying argument in both places. I'm saying argument. Like, there's argument and parameter are synonyms. So, end of the called procedures parameter list. Okay. So we're going to say I plus 1 instead of sorted index plus 1. Because unnamed arguments because named arguments determine the position at which we are passing parameters, and unnamed arguments refer an unnamed argument after a named argument. Like, an unnamed argument after a named one. Following It is so impossible to say what the problem is. Like, either you know or you don't know. Like, look, why don't I just make the error message say if you have to ask, you don't know. You'd also tend toward putting both indices. I'm not sure that that's helpful. It might just be more confusing. Parameters are what procedures have. Arguments are the things given to them. Maybe. I mean, that's the convention I decided to use in this one message. One of the things the instructor recommends you do is initialize variables in the form int x brace 3. That's bullshit. That's fucking stupid. That's stupid. That's modern, probably. I'm sure it's modern. It's still stupid. Yeah, let's work on the missing argument thing that you're mentioning. Like, honestly, that one has bothered me for a long time. And I've just felt like I've just had too many other things to do. But I really shouldn't ignore that one because, like, it's a thing that people see a lot, right? The thing is, I'm not really sure what the right answer is. So saying missing argument, whatever name, is supposed to be helpful, right? But often the argument you forget is not the last one, and in that case it's not helpful. So we could just say not enough arguments to the procedure, right? And not say which one is missing. Like that's like the least weird thing. I mean, we could actually look at the types of the things and figure out which one you missed, but that's not always going to say the right thing either. Python does not allow it. We're not Python. Of course it should be allowed to have positional arguments after named arguments. What are you even talking about? Don't allow arguments. Yeah, that's true. Okay, because named arguments determine the position at which we're passing parameters. Determine the index at which we are passing parameters. And then following a named one, I don't know if I should explain this anymore here. It's just going to be a lot of text, right? So argument present D, which binds to the following parameter because no name is supplied at the calling site, would be past the end of the argument list. Would be past the end of the parameter list. This is verbose explanation, but if the parameters you pass match but are offset some amount. But that's an ambiguous situation. What if all the parameters are the same type, right? So I'm going to go sub only chat for a little bit. Like, guys, this is a thing that makes streaming hard. Like, I started the stream up. I'm here to solve problems. I know what I want to do. And when people are like triple guessing what I'm doing and telling me that what I'm doing is wrong from a basic level, it's like, that's noise. It's mental noise that I don't need to hear, but I still want to respond to chat. So it just makes it hard to work when people who have never worked on a compiler for 7 years start telling me that everything I'm doing is wrong. So I just have to, we need a little bit of quiet for a little bit. And I know people aren't doing that intentionally, but like, man, it's, After it happened like the third or fourth time already from different people, I'm just like, holy crap. I just need to like actually successfully do work. So let's make sure that this passes tests. And I know it can be meant as a positive contribution, right? To like, oh, it looks to me like this, right? I understand that, but when someone's like really deep into working on something and has thought about it for years, like you can't just, yeah, it's just, some people are doing it intentionally. I don't think it's actually happening intentionally here. I think it's just what happens. Like, that's the medium of Twitch, right? It's just what happens when you have a channel and people just show up. And they haven't seen, people don't know. They haven't seen that much. But I have to deal with it, right? So it's not anybody's fault, but like, yeah, I still have to deal with it. And, the solution ultimately is to just not read chat. You know what? Let's do that. Let's turn off sub-only chat so people could talk to each other. And I just won't read it for a while. Again, it would be better if there could be like a public room and a quiet room, but Twitch doesn't give us that option. So, yeah. All right. So this passed the tests. Now, that's good. So this error message is fixed. This raises some questions for me about whether I should test some more weird cases before calling this done. So let's make sure the game compiles. All right. So, I'm going to do a commit. Better error message when giving an unnamed argument after a named one that goes past the end of a procedure's parameter list. And we'll document that. Are you kidding? I already have a no check-in. How's that possible? Oh, right there. Okay. So, We'll put this in the change log. Oh. And what? Can I do this? No, it doesn't. Okay. Next up, I kind of wonder what happens if we do weird things. Like, what if I go bar x equals 1, z equals 2, 3, 4, y equals 5, right? That should work. Now, let's make sure that still works. Okay, great. Now, what if I go back to x? That should not work. Yes, argument 1 was given twice. It's really parameter 1. I don't know. We're getting consistent about that terminology. If we want to later, would be a whole thing. Okay, so what about z? Do we catch that? Okay. That's actually fine then. That I was just worried about, like, if we did varargs, what would happen? But this is okay. I mean, you can imagine for really long, if you give 100 parameters, we probably want to say which one is which, but let's not worry about it. You could just search for the name. Unless, of course, you do something like this, right? X equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, y equals 8, right? So that's giving y twice, one unnamed and one named. Yeah. I guess we should actually say, for cases like this, we should help people understand, right? Report info. Here is the first time y was given. All right, and then here is the second time. We could just say, here's the first time, here's the second time, but okay, so that should at least help people understand what's going on in cases like that. Okay. We're just going to run that through tests again. They'll succeed just fine. Because we didn't really do anything that would break, but we're just being cautious prior to a check-in. Okay. It's going well. Whoops. Okay, let's look at what was being discussed a little bit ago. This frickin' error message. So if I say foo with value int name string and I say foo of hello, it's going to say missing argument name. And that's actually not right. It's not missing argument name. It's missing the one before that, right? So it's really like not enough arguments to the procedure. The question is this hard to do given the current structure? It's a weird thing because, like, look, in situations like this where there's no names being used for parameters, then it's pretty clear that there's just not enough parameters. But if you start using names, I mean, so one thing we could do is just, if no names are used, which is a very common case, we could just say not enough arguments, right? The thing is telling people how many arguments they need to supply is not necessarily straightforward if there are defaults and stuff. Which may be the other end of why this is complicated, right? Oh, are we in science and technology? That's just what Twitch put, what's it called? Software and game development. Okay. We're now in software and game development. Why isn't this error message okay? Because it's not missing argument name. We're saying it's missing an argument, but it's not missing that argument. It's missing the first argument. All right. So it's confusing to people. And in this case, it's maybe not that hard to figure out, but it still feels wrong, firstly. And secondly, in a situation that starts to get more involved and less clear already, as complicated programs tend to do, then a confusing error message gets worse and worse, right? It adds to the confusion of whatever else you have ambiently going on. Too few arguments seems worse. Why does it seem worse? It's correct. Saying something correct is not worse than saying something incorrect. Why not expected so many arguments got so many arguments? Well, that's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about doing. It's just not that straightforward when the situation is not that straightforward. Expected int got string would be hard to match. I mean, the situation is, because of polymorphism and all sorts of things like that, argument matching is broken into two phases, right? There's a sorting phase and then a matching phase that's separate from the sorting phase. And it's in the matching phase where we actually do the matching. Now, we could do extra matching, type matching, I mean, right? We could do extra type matching just for the purposes of error reporting. And I would do that if I was convinced that I saw a way to make it super clear. Yeah, let's go to why do I not see? Oh, it's in, is it here? Wait, what? Okay, this has got to be one of these things where we pass in strings. Oh no, we're finding comments. Why am I not seeing this? This is going to be one of those things where that one file is not in the IDE for some reason. Here we go. So, you know, we do this for returns and structs and module parameters, which is what, so the string is broken up into these pieces, which is why it's harder to search for. Okay, anyway, that's the right place. So we're like here. Now the way we get here is what? Okay. So this is the phase. Okay. So after you supply whatever arguments you supplied, then we say like, hey, are there any arguments that you didn't supply that have defaults? And we go through and fill those out, right? And what is happening here is we're saying, okay, sorted is the arguments that you gave. So we're saying, okay, you didn't give an argument for index I. So we need to see if we have a default. And if we have a default, that's this code. All right. If we don't have a default, well, you could be giving var args, right? And you could be giving 17 arguments at the end, in which case that goes down here. We might want to reverse this to put the error code at the end, but you get the idea. So if we're not doing var args there, then we just say missing argument, whatever. So it's literally, the way this code comes up is literally, we're trying to fill in a particular argument. Hello, people. Hello, people. We're trying to fill in a particular argument, and we don't have that one because there's no default, right? So that's the thing, is you could use names at the calling site, and there could be defaults. I don't even remember if we support non-defaults after defaults. I think we do. So like you can't even say, you can't even like count up the number of non-defaults and say that's the necessary number, because there could be more after that. So like it's confusing because isn't that ambiguous? No, it's not ambiguous. Wow, there's so many people here now. Okay. Let's just see. I don't even remember if I let you do this. Size is a float, right? Like what happens if I just say that? Yeah, we let you do that. So I could go foo 3 1.0, right? Or except no, because that's going to go to name. So that's a type error, right? But if I say size equals 1.0, that works. Is that obnoxious? Maybe, but we allow it. So the problem is, if I say requires 2 arguments, like what if I say foo of 3 comma high, right? That's still missing a parameter, right? And we would end up printing, if we were naive about it, we would end up printing not enough arguments to the procedure, past 2 required 2, right? So that's not good. Why not say which arguments are required? Well, we could obviously do that, but that may not be very good in the simple case, because you may not know or care. Like if you're calling without names, you may not know or care about the names, right? So really what we're looking at is we might have quite a few lines of code here. Like we could tell you how many arguments are required if there's no hole in the procedure like this, right? And then we could just fall back to the missing argument, whatever, like we say now, and maybe that'll be a little bit confusing, but we can think about that after we deal with this. Okay, so if you don't use any names, and there are no holes in the procedure being called in terms of default arguments, then we'll just say not enough arguments. And asking how many are required is even a little bit complicated, because if it's varargs, it's not like there's one more declaration than what you actually need to pass. So that's a thing. Would it make sense to defer to a simpler checking system? No, because you don't know if there's no varargs or polymorphism or whatever. Well, you don't know at this point if there's no polymorphism. Because remember, you could be calling a procedure name with 27 different overloads that all have different parameter sets, right? So, I don't know. You could try to do something like that. I don't think it's worth it. I think that adds more complexity than it helps with. And it's not, the problem isn't the checking. Like, the checking works. The problem is just giving a right error message. List all the argument slots, whether they are required and what expression map to them. Yeah, I feel like we could do that in the extreme case, and that would actually be pretty easy. But the fundamental problem here, like, I don't want that most of the time, right? I would only want that in really complicated cases. When I'm just chilling and just programming regularly, I think I just want, you gave 2 arguments and you needed 3 or something, right? And then maybe later, if we detect that there's holes and stuff, maybe we could do the verbose solution. Would that make sense as a compiler flag? I don't know. I've thought about having a flag for something like that, for if you want really serious error messages. But to date, there just hasn't been enough justification for that, but I could see it happening eventually. You never know. Okay. I'm starting to think about a snack, and I don't have much in the way of snacks, except for sun chips, which we eat way too many of on this stream. Oh, we also have fruit bars. All right, we have a festival of sun chips and fruit bars. This stream is sponsored by food. What happens if you make another overload? It'll say that kind of error for both overloads. Have you ever tried keto? No, keto doesn't make sense. I don't think. Like as a long-term diet, it doesn't make sense. As a short-term, sure, but as long-term, no. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's definitely when you decide to support features like this, you're definitely giving yourself more of a job to do with regard to things like error messages and whatever. Intermittent fasting makes sense long term. I agree with that, yeah. Keto doesn't like... The idea of keto is that you're burning your fat reserves, right? So like, it can't be a long-term diet if it actually works because you wouldn't have fat reserves anymore. But you like meet these people who swear they're on keto for like 5 years. And I'm like, I don't think that is what you think it is. Okay. You can be in calorie surplus on keto. Sunship keto. That's exactly what's happening. I mean, look, if you're doing keto, either you're burning your own fat or not. If you're not burning your own fat, what's the point? If you are burning your own fat, you're going to run out of fat. Unless you're eating chocolate cake every other day, in which case you're not really on keto either. People you've heard who are doing keto long-term end up taking shots of olive oil or similar to get enough fat in the diet. Right. At some point, if keto works to burn your own body's fat, then at some point, you have to be intaking 100% of the fat that you are supposedly burning, right? At which point, why don't you just eat normally? Like, why do you want to drink olive oil for all your calories? Like it. Yeah, exactly. I mean, move on makes sense to me, right? Like, hey, if you actually need to drink olive oil to stay on keto, then good job. Now you can eat regular food. Like, I don't know. Okay. let's actually do some work. How about that? How about the idea of programming? Okay. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to say, if we are in a simple calling situation, no names used at the calling site, no no holes in optional arguments of the callee, then just give a not enough arguments error. Otherwise, give the name of the missing argument, which may still be misleading, and long term we want to do a more diagnostic thing there that lists all missing arguments, question mark. Okay. Bool, simple situation equals true, and then if simple situation, else report error, not enough arguments. Like, I want to describe, like, to this call or whatever, but like, this whole frickin' thing is actually, here, we could do this down here. Whoops, Emacs is confused. So we're going to do that. Not enough arguments to this boy, internationalizing this is going to be fun. All right. So to this procedure, return statement, struct instantiation, module parameter list, program parameter list. Maybe there's better strings we can pick for that. Needed %d, but only got %d. S arguments, just say num. Needed num given. I guess we just say unsorted.count. So number needed is get needed arguments for simple situation of the procedure, which I guess we just get declarations. Vargs argument index, okay. If num needed is equal to -1, simple situation is false, right? For everything in unsorted, names unsorted, if it is false, and Barack Obama, break. Okay. Okay. There we go. So we need to write this thing. Oh God, it's C++. I can't just put stuff at the bottom like I do all the time because it's C++. You have to forward declare the garbage. Let's put it up here. So okay. So a simple situation in the callee is no non-optional arguments after optional arguments. Okay. So since they can be empty, so simplify the situation a bit. Okay. Great. Okay, so for I equals 0, I is less than, what is I? I don't know. Limit, which is going to be S64, but whatever, it's C++, we don't care. So, bool got default value is false, all right? So decal is declaration sub I. If decal expression let's just say got a default value is true, else if got a default value, return -1. Okay. Highest non-default argument index equals I. And we're going to return this. Okay. I messed up. Needed 0. That's not right. We actually could do this differently so that we only use one variable, but I'm not going to worry about it. Highest non-default argument index. Oh, we actually want to say +1, but that's still not going to be right. This is supposed to return -1, actually. So why doesn't it? So for 0, we should set this to 0, which is no opposite, it's already 0. For 1, we have an expression, so we set got a default value. For 2, we don't have an expression, so we should return -1. Very strange. Okay. Why am I not able to program today? So varg's argument index is -1. That's correct. Okay. Okay. 1, we got a default value. What? I said -1. Yeah, I said -1. I said -1. Let's do that. Okay. This is fine. This is a non-simple situation. And it's actually outputting the right result for this. But now, if I go back over here and I say, well, let's do this. A simple situation, right? Let's capitalize. Okay. The phrasing needed two but only got one is not great. We should also say here's the procedure being called. But only. See, we need some singular plural action here. Oh my God. What a butt pain. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to go on to print the declaration next. Not the declaration, but I mean the declaration of the whole function, not the argument declaration. It doesn't supply. We don't give this error message when you supply more than are provided. This is not what we're doing. If I do this, we get too many. We could just say not enough arguments. Yeah, let's make it look like this because this works fine. So we'll get rid of all the string stuff. I'll just say not enough arguments. We'll keep this part. Or we could just put the number. I didn't put a value here. No, you know what? This is getting too, let's just put the numbers for now. We can bring this back later if we want. But we're just going to make it look a lot like the too many arguments, right? Whoops, that's too many. All right. No, that's probably a mistake from switching back and forth between languages. All right. So now we got not enough arguments, and now we'll just do this same thing that we do after too many arguments, right? Okay, you know what? I want to factor this whole thing out. Okay, so this is going to be too many. All right. Oops. Let's put that here. All right. Description. 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 All right. No, the names are probably wrong. Argument holder. No, it's there, right? Okay. Okay, so here we're just gonna, all this stuff is gonna go, you know what, just, okay, so not enough, site argument holder, num needed, num given. Okay. Okay. Mode. Oh yeah. Where does mode come from? Argument sort mode. Just the things I go through. All right. Wait, did I delete the num given? Okay, if it's a simple situation, mode came here. Not enough arguments and too many arguments. Wait, but we said wanted 2, got 2. That is not right because I said sorted instead of unsorted. Unsorted. Don't say wanted 2, got 2. That is not the way to do it. There we go. Wanted 2, got 1. Here's the procedure being called. Okay, that's probably better, right? Than what we've been doing. Hopefully the people in the beta agree with this. Could derive description from args wanted, args given? No. Oh, I see. I see what you're saying. Yes. I suppose that's true. I just don't feel like it's worth it right now, but yeah, you could do that. If that was a design that you thought was better, you could just say if they're greater than or less than, right? The thing is, I might want to use this function for something else and generalize it a little bit more. Hard to say, maybe not, but I don't know. But it is not the procedure being called. What do you mean? And then, if we go back to the non-simple situation, we should get the old message. Yeah. Okay. That seems kind of reasonable to me. Hopefully I didn't mess it up in some basic way. Shipping value to the people. Maybe tonight, maybe not. It all depends on what we get done. It's been about a week since we shipped value to the people, which is crazy because I feel like I literally just did that. I don't know. Don't talk about time, yeah. No, I mean, that's the thing that happens when programming is time goes by so fast. However, it goes by slower for me than it used to. Like, I can get a lot more done in a given amount of time than I used to. But still, let me tell you, right? Like it's been, yeah, so it's exactly 1 week since I delivered value to the people last time, which is crazy. Even web. Well, you know, that's the thing about programming languages is people are going to use them for things that they use them for. Despite my recommendations. Like when people get into the beta, we make them do like a Men in Black brainwashing device that's supposed to get them to not remember about the web, but I guess some people survive that process. I don't know. What about WebGL games? What about WebGL games? What do you want me to know about WebGL games? What sort of knowledge is an experienced programmer supposed to have in order for them to use this language properly? That is not the point of saying that. The point of saying that is to say that we aren't going to make design trade-offs in order to make the language much more suitable for inexperienced programmers to use in the long term, which many programming languages today do. Okay, it's a different thing. Slither is a good WebGL game. No, it isn't. It is definitely not a good WebGL game. It's good for an hour here or there, but like it doesn't even make frame rate. Like it lags in rendering. Frickin' Slither. Okay. There are native WebGL games which do fine. I disagree. I disagree with that. Do I play mobile games? No, I don't know of any mobile games that are any good. I just stopped looking after a while. Like some years ago, I would check my phone regularly to see what games were coming out, and now I just don't even do that. I lost a chip. I'm not going to tolerate people who stan shitty programming APIs, okay? Even programming regular desktop GL sucks. It's horrible. WebGL sucks more. If you don't understand that, don't be dissing people who understand more than you. I won't put up with it. I just won't. Like, I just literally spent 2 hours working on error messages for this one case. Probably not 2 hours, but a significant amount of time. Probably more than the Intel OpenGL driver people spent on error messages for the entire driver. Causing many people to suffer accordingly. GetInfoLog didn't give you any error messages. I'm not surprised. It often doesn't give error messages on desktop. Like, I have spent so many hours of my life, like, it should be measured in weeks probably, staring at my code, trying to figure out why stuff doesn't show up on the screen with, like, very little information provided by the API. And there's no reason for that. Yeah, RenderDoc didn't used to exist. Kids these days thinking they're cool because they know about RenderDoc. RenderDoc also doesn't work if you use fixed function pipeline, which is still probably the only reason to use OpenGL now. Okay, I'm eating too many ketogenic potato chips. Okay. Let's go look in the mailbag for the next thing to do. What does the mailbag say? Error message highlighting bug. Compound struct member with bad type causes... Okay, crashes are priority. So we got to fix this. It seems like it's a crash in an error message, which is like, you know, as things go, those tend to be really easy. And they tend not to hurt people that bad. Why have I been given this repro case that doesn't repro, though? Like, what's example module supposed to be? Oh, I guess it is a repro because there's no example module, right? So actually we're fine. Yes. Oh, and it's even before we output a message. So that's bad. You know, usually when we get error message crashes, it's like we output an error and then crash, and then at least people saw the error and they know what's going on. Here, we don't output anything, right? So that's very bad. Very bad, very high priority to fix. So we have an operator that has no inferred type. God, let me type, please. Just making sure we're in the right place. And we are. We're in line 2. So I assume this is the binary operator, right? Yes. So this is weird. I'm not sure why we're inferring this type instantiation. When we haven't inferred the expression. Maybe we did and we just didn't like yield correctly. It looks that way, so I'll need to go to the top of this procedure. Come on, where is it? There's probably a binding in Visual Studio to go to the top of the procedure. All right. It's like, why is this so slow? I'm dying of boring here. Okay, that's weird. How did we skip this? Oh, wait, no, we're in the binary. Never mind. Okay, hold on. I was confused a second ago. Oh wait, no, I'm not confused. Hold on. I am fine. So it's supposed to be a strict requirement that this binary operator, is inferred before we get here. I don't know how we got here, honestly. Like, okay, flattened cursor is, oh, it's 0. Are we doing... What? What? So we have this thing in there twice somehow. Wait, no? Oh, because it was already in? Okay. We need to look at this process here. It might be right, and I'm just confused about it. We just need to look. It's not that I don't want to spend time learning Remedy. Remedy doesn't work. It's got too many bugs. I try to use it, and it doesn't work. That is why I'm not using it. Hopefully the bugs will be fixed. But it does not work correctly. Please don't... I don't know. Okay. So we are here. We're flattening this expression. It's a declaration. No surprise. Okay. We put typeinst in first, which should be fine. Oh, it's the fact that it's a compound in some way. Oh, fuck. This is related to what we were working on late last night, actually. So I'm just trying to think about now, what are the issues in play here? Like the problem is, this is going to be the declaration for xy1, I think, and not xy0. That is my theory. No, it's actually xy0. Interesting. Interesting. Oh, but actually that's fine. I bet when we crash, we're on xy1, though. Let's verify that. No, it's still xy0. That's weird. That's weird. Okay, so I don't yet know what is happening, which is fine. We're honing in on what is the problem. Okay, so we're going back here. Actually, we actually want to break here. Okay, and we'll get rid of that. We're going to start over. It should go a little faster. There we go. Okay, so let's see what happens when we go here. We go current flattened result, which should be empty. Yep, count 0. So the first thing we're putting in is, right, the type instantiation. Wait, what? Oh, because it's already, oh, yeah. Okay, hold on. That's going to be the compound declaration. Right? No, it is a declaration. It's the declaration properties for the compound? Dude, like I was saying last night, oh, it's in xy1. For some reason, that one went first. Okay. Okay. So this thing is flattened within something else. But it's not cued. Which is why, like, it's shared among two different things that are in the that are scheduled separately because they're in a data scope, right? Which is how things work. Things in a data scope are not ordered with respect to time or position on the screen. So the problem is two different guys are pointing at the same thing. I actually don't understand in what case this is ever the correct thing to do, actually. So now I kind of have to wonder, WTF. Why is this even here? Two things we could do. One, investigate why this is even here and try to simplify it. Two, just put in a workaround for this one thing. I kind of don't want to, I see what the workaround would be, but I kind of don't want to put it in. See, this bothers me because it also could be the source of other bugs. I kind of just want to see when this happens in a bigger project like the Sokoban game. Probably mostly compound declarations like that, but there might be some other times. Okay. Here it's a declaration, actually. That's different. Oh, I bet this is procedure. Oh, wait. Right. So that's an internal declaration created by the compiler, but it would be queued, right? Maybe not. It is. So we really want to know when it's not queued. And yeah. So we know the kind of code that we were editing last night generates this situation. Type definition. These are like all struct members. This is happening a lot. Yeah, like all these parameter declarations, I guess they show up. Well, I don't know. I'm not sure why we do this. You know what? We're just going to be cleaning things up today, I think. Things that don't totally make sense to me. Like even this, like some of these things maybe made sense in the way the compiler used to work, right? Now, I'm not sure why we do this at all. Now, this has nothing to do with the bug that we are looking at. I'm not sure why we were doing this through flatten of the parameters. Yeah, this is weird. So like, let me just do a thing. Thanks, Visual Studio, for making me type more. Like, why don't we just do that? It's probably going to kill things. It's probably going to be a disaster. Oops, that's the wrong compiler. Debug. So this crash looks new. I just wanted to make sure. Yeah. So this is one of these things where I want to understand exactly why this is necessary and if it is still necessary. Oh, actually, haha, I screwed up. This, okay. We actually need that. This is the new, okay, so we do the procedure header. And then we do the, this should be stored elsewhere. It's just making this confusing. Well, now we can compile the whole Sokoban game. Here, that's the same old crash, so we're not worrying about that, because that's what we're going to try to fix later. So maybe I can just do this, and that's better, because now we're pointing at this other thing that is simpler to think about and that isn't in the middle of a different compilation unit. Okay, so that's great. So we got rid of one of these cases. Okay. So now if I go back to here, so we've got our initial things. Okay. So now we didn't really have anything in preload. Now we have default metaprogram line 183. That's an import. Oh, right. It's a module. I don't know why that's not queued. Maybe they... Oh, right. Okay, let's see. Other cases, same. A literal made by the compiler. More struct, more literal, line 6. Okay. So I kind of want to say this is legal if you're inferred. So what are the things that are not inferred? Procedure call, line 93. Oh, that's the module parameters procedure call. Okay. What else? This is our old breakpoint for something totally different. Will I do any more talks this year? I am doing a talk on Thursday, but it is at a private event. It is short. It's 20 minutes long. Apart from that, I don't know. I don't know. That's from last night. I mean, really? What about our crash? So we have this module parameters procedure call. Does it talk about simulation theory? No. It is the talk about how software technology is not really a thing now. I should go work on that a little bit today, honestly. Well, let's see what happens when we run it back on the other thing, because I thought that this should catch the thing that was crashinationing. Yes, it does. So it's weird. I guess what we're saying is this only happens in data scopes when you use compound declarations, and like we're not ever doing this in Sokoban game at all. Which I guess I believe. So the question is, and I might just go take a break and ponder this, because I'm feeling like break time, even though it's only been a couple hours. The question is, how do we handle this internally? There's a few different things you could do. One, in a case like this, where you do a compound declaration, you could just copy this whole thing as if it were not a compound declaration. That seems wasteful, but it's what you would have gotten if you just typed them out, right? And I'd rather do that than do some kind of weird thing. Now that said, we could also just queue it instead, and then maybe things should work automatically. You would expect it to be equivalent to two separate lines. Yes, it is. I mean, we're purely talking about internal things, right? Externally, yes, this should be exactly the same as if a user just typed the two lines. And no matter what solution we do, it should maintain that property of language semantics. But that still leaves the question of like, what do we do internally? And I feel like maybe we copy here. So I'm going to put a note before we forget over here, and I'm going to say, wait. This thing that we were looking at nothing in Sokoban triggered this, but I didn't run on all of the tests. Okay. So, yeah, I think what we do is we just copy. So let me go to here, check and desugar our old favorite. Okay. Where does this even happen? Type inst. Is decal type inst? Right there. Now we could, if we wanted to, we could say only copy in data scope. I'm going to do that. Because in imperative scope, actually that's not true. We're going to copy all the time. But I will put a note. I will say, speed note, there are some cases when we would not have to copy type inst. For example, non-constant declarations in imperative scope. But we have had problems with this stuff, so we're keeping it simple for now. And the perf should not be a big deal for non-pathological programs. I thought of something to say, and then I thought of something else, and it dropped that from cache. So, I was going to say, last night, if anyone here was on last night when we were streaming, we were working on this stuff, and I was saying it's been too complicated, it's been too annoying and too buggy, and I would like to simplify it. And little did I know that this other seemingly unrelated crash bug that we would be working on the next day was also because of this code right here. It's bananas. It's bananas. Okay. So, bananas. Copy. Type inst might not be a thing even. So we copy it. Maybe I should, at some point, make the copier API take the block. Probably. Copier. Well, dang it. All right, and then sorry, typer, copier. Okay, so okay. I mean, now we're getting multiple undeclared identifiers. Lol. We can debug that separately. But it doesn't crash. Okay. So, what do we do now? We run the tests on everything. That's what we do. Because it's possible we broke something. Who knows? Hopefully not. I should add a comment about why we are copying as well. We are saying, well, I guess this is queued declarations trying to they're not yet inferred. Copier lets this happen because of copier thing we should change. All right. Okay. Oh, sorry. Not copier, flatten. It's flatten thing we should change. All right. So we go into flatten. We put this tag here. And we could maybe look at changing that later today or something. Anyway. Let's run that again. I'm sure it's fine. We'll run the compiler. And then I guess we look at the undeclared identifier thing because it's kind of spammy. It's not that bad compared to other things, but it's kind of spammy. You know what? I really want to break. So I'm going to write down undeclared identifiers on this list. And we'll do it later. Okay. Oh dear. Yeah. really didn't like this. What does that have to do with anything that I'm working on? Like what? What does this have to do with copying the thing? It doesn't have anything to do with that. Did I accidentally change something else? Did I change something about flatten? Like what? Okay. Oh, I see. Oh, God. We have this stuff down here. Right, so we're... Okay. Actually... I actually don't... We might have a problem, like... I don't really know if that's queued yet. So this is something I didn't think about, which is why it's good to have test cases. Here, there's only one struct declaration. And every struct declaration is a separate type. So you don't actually want to make multiple struct declarations here. Because you would make multiple types. So it's actually not always exactly the same. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, games... The reason games take a long time to compile is because compilers are written by people who don't know how to make things go fast. That's the only reason. So my impression here is that this is not queued yet because of other implementation details. I feel like it should be, though. And if it's not, this is something we could fix. So that assertion doesn't even go off. Like what? Yeah, so this code even, I don't know why we have an assert here. Oh, that's this thing. But like this is actually the correct error message. We have two different unknown structs. Okay, I just need to break there and see what's happening because it's not what I think. So when we get here, we're going to say if we're at line 214. Yep. All right. So oh, it's in type instantiation. Oh, obviously. Yeah, no, I'm silly. It's obviously a type instantiation because that's what goes in that slot. And then type valued expression is a struct, which is also not queued. Okay. So this is kind of a problem. I don't like this. So I need to decide when not to copy. But I can at least make sure it's not like horribly wrong by actually queuing the things here. Like if I queue them, so if I don't copy it, it has to be queued into a separate compilation unit for itself in order for compilation to be sane and reasonable. And I don't think that's that hard, probably. But I want to think about it. So we're going to take a little break on that. Yeah, last time we benchmarked compiler speed, we were at about 250,000 lines of code per second, if you don't count the linker, on a desktop PC. We haven't done perf work in a long time. So it's even possible that number went down a little bit, but not for any good reasons that we won't be able to restore. I've actually been thinking about doing more perf work sometime soon to raise that number up more. Yeah, but we're not quite like that's like a whole thing. Weissman score. Yeah, I'm not sure. Like the whole issue with that is right now I'm working on stability and reducing bugs, right? Which is good. The problem is threading stuff more adds the potential for more bugs for sure. That said, we got to do it eventually. So who knows? Okay, I'm going to take a break. Thanks everybody for coming by. We might stream again today. We'll see. We might work on this some more. This is going to be a little bit ugly. You know what? Maybe we just always queue it. I want to think about that. What if we just always frickin' queue whatever this thing is? And that's simple and we don't worry about it. Maybe that's the thing. And if that breaks for some reason, maybe we fix that. That's the most appealing solution to me at this time, but I don't know. I don't really use unit. Dude, I run several servers. What are you talking about? All right. Thanks, everybody. I'll see you later on.